Okay, so think about your favorite holiday traditions. That cozy fire, the evergreen tree in the living room, maybe even Santa Claus himself. What if I told you these things have roots that are way, way older than you probably think? We're going to take a journey back in time to an ancient festival of light and darkness that pretty much shaped how we see this entire season.
It sounds like this setup to a really weird joke, right? But the answer connects some of our most beloved traditions to their deep, kind of mystical past. So stick with me, because by the end of this, you'll see exactly how they're all part of the same incredible story. And the key to that whole riddle, well, it isn't a person or a myth. It's actually an astronomical event. It all starts on the longest, darkest night of the year.
The winter solstice. For ancient people, especially farmers, this was everything. It's that moment when the whole world seems to just hold its breath. The sun hits its lowest point in the sky and seems to stand still. That's literally what solstice means. It is the absolute peak of darkness, but it's also a promise that the light is about to come back.
And that brings us to the festival's name, Yule, or as they said in Old Norse, Yule. For the people who celebrated it, that name meant something profound. They saw the year as a giant wheel, a Yule. The solstice wasn't an end, it was the turning point. It was the moment that great wheel of the year finished its dark turn and started, slowly, to roll back towards the light.
So how do you even begin to make sense of something that huge, that cosmic? Well, you tell stories. Ancient cultures around the world created these incredible myths to personify the epic struggle between the darkness and the returning light. One of my favorites is this story of an eternal battle. Think of it like a cosmic wrestling match that happens twice a year. You've got the Holly King, who represents the dark, waning half of the year. He's at the absolute peak of his power. But on the solstice, his twin brother, the Oak King, who represents the growing light, he rises up, defeats the Holly King, and takes the crown, promising that warmth and life are on their way back. And this whole idea of the sun's rebirth, it pops up in myths all over the world. In Norse stories, the night before the solstice is called Mother's Night, when a goddess gives birth to the new sun god. In Japan, the sun goddess Amaterasu has to be tricked into leaving a cave to bring an end to the darkness. And in Finland, a powerful witch literally steals the sun. The point is, no matter where you look, people saw this moment as this huge divine drama, a story of battle, birth, and finally, triumphant return. Okay, so how did people take these big, abstract myths and make them real? I mean, if you wanted to encourage the sun to come back, you couldn't just tell stories about it. You had to get involved. You had to perform rituals to actively welcome the light back into your world.
And the Yule log is a perfect example. Now, this wasn't just some little log you toss in the fireplace. We're talking about an entire tree trunk, hauled into the house with great ceremony. And it would burn for 12 straight nights, acting as this massive beacon of light and warmth against the deepest dark. But that last step, that's the magic. Saving a piece to light next year's log created a physical link, ensuring the sun's light and the family's luck would continue, unbroken, year after year. And check out these other symbols. Bringing evergreens inside was this powerful act, a reminder that life goes on even in the dead of winter. The Yule goat, that was a nod to the god Thor. And here it is, the direct connection to Santa. During this event called the Wild Hunt, the god Odin was said to ride his 8-legged horse, Sleipnir, across the winter sky. Kids would leave out treats for his horse, hoping to get gifts in return. Sound familiar? So you've got all these really popular, really powerful pagan traditions. What happens when a new religion, Christianity, shows up? You don't get rid of them. No, that would be too hard. You just rebrand them. See, the Bible never actually gives a date for Jesus' birth. So back in the 4th century, the church made a really smart strategic move. They decided to place Christmas on December 25th, right on top of existing popular Roman sun festivals. Later on, this whole process became official. Rulers like King Haakon of Norway actually made laws forcing the pagan Yule festival to be celebrated at the same time as Christmas. They didn't just overlap, they were fused together. And this strategy of reinterpreting the old symbols was just genius. The church didn't ban them, they just gave them new meanings. So the rebirth of the sun became the birth of the Son, Jesus, the light of the world. The light from the Yule log became the light of Christ pushing away darkness. The evergreen's promise of life, that became the promise of everlasting life through Jesus. It was an incredibly effective way to transition an entire culture's belief system. But listen, this urge to celebrate the return of light, It isn't just a European story. Not at all. It's a deeply human one. All over the world, cultures develop their own beautiful, unique ways to honor this massive celestial turning point.
Over in East Asia, the Dongzhi festival marks the peak of that cold, dark yin energy and the very beginning of the return of the warm, light yang energy. It's all about balance. It's a time for family to gather, honor their ancestors, and eat these sweet little rice balls called tangyen, which symbolize togetherness and harmony. In Persia, the celebration is called Yalda, which means night of birth. Imagine this. Families stay awake through the entire longest night of the year, partly to protect themselves from evil and partly to witness the sun's rebirth at dawn. They eat red fruits, like pomegranates, because that color represents the crimson glow of the rising sun, the very color of life itself. And in Japan, the solstice, or Tolji, is all about locking in health and good fortune for the new year. A really popular tradition is to take a hot bath with these bright yellow yuzu citrus fruits floating in it. It smells amazing, and it's believed to ward off winter colds. It's just a beautiful, fragrant way to welcome the returning sun. So from a mythical battle between ancient kings to a simple, fragrant citrus bath, this desire to mark this moment is universal. Which brings us to one last thought. For us today, in a world that's just full of artificial light, a world that's banished the profound darkness our ancestors knew, how do we find meaning in this ancient cycle? How can we still find a way to honor the quiet of the longest night and to truly, deeply celebrate the return of the sun?